Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Mystery Sports Podcast. And we've got Premier League action. Finally, football and Premier League action is back after a long free waits for United and for many other teams as well who haven't been involved in European action and the FA Cup and things. We finally got football back. It's been a long, long time. It seems like over a month. Well, it's nearly over a month since we've had. I mean, in United's perspective, not had football in quite a while. But we'll go through everything from the Premier League. We'll go through my score predictions on that, and we'll also go through a bit of team news on United, and also a little bit about what I think that game will be as well. Against obviously Leeds, big rivalry there, the Battle of the Roses, as a lot of people also know, the derby between United and Leeds is, I won't say derby, I'd say probably more rivalry in my perspective. And, I'd say, obviously, me being only 18, I've only ever known this kind of rivalry to not be as big as what it was to like my grandparents or even my dad and, other people like that who are, much older than how much older than I am. But, we'll get straight into it. And before we go to do the score predictions now, make sure you drop a subscription or subscribe to the channel, and also drop a like on the video and share to all your family and friends. It would be much appreciated. But let's get in it straight away. Let's not waste any time here. Sun Dream Team, you know what it is. It's um score prediction times. And as we can see here, you've got West Ham versus Wolverhampton under is the first game of the weekend, a relegation battle. What does this mean? Wolves in 20th place, West Ham on the fringes of relegation. What could happen here? I mean, if I'm looking at, if I'm going to go for the realistic answer, I think West Ham will win, and I think we will see Tottenham Hotspur come tonight after 10 o'clock or whatever the time the game finishes. I think West Ham will win this game. With it being at home, they'll have home advantage. They look very good, played very well against Leeds to get back. Obviously narrow only to lose on penalties in the FA Cup quarterfinals, which was a shame for them, but fair play to Leeds. So I'm gonna go with a 2-1 win to West Ham there. I think that's the most sensible option there. Then we come on to Saturday's action, the early kickoff. This is Arsenal versus Bournemouth. This is for the title race, if you, as it is with Arsenal, sitting 9 points clear at the top of the Premier League. They're in good they're in a good position here. But this is a game where it could be a bogey team for Arsenal. Bournemouth do like to turn up against Arsenal. So with this, I'm going to go with a draw for them. I think, we can look at Saka and things like that. Odegaard, Gyökeres, Havertz all need to step up in this game from an Arsenal's perspective, and they need to make sure they take the chances and be clinical in front of goal to have a chance. And, we know how good the defence is here for Arsenal. However, I just see Bournemouth turning up and, they're getting the last game was a draw against United. I think, they definitely could get a draw. They've got the quality to get a draw, get away at Arsenal. Anything can happen, but my opinion, I think it's going to be 2-2. Then we move on to Brentford versus Everton, the battle for European football. This is another game where I'm thinking, could it be a draw or will the home side take the win? And I'm going to go with a 3-2 win to the home side. I think Brentford, they're chasing European football. Everton as well, where they are in the league. Brentford 7th, Everton 8th, 7th versus 8th, all on the same points. Brentford are just above them on 4 goal difference compared to Everton's 2. If let's say Brentford do win this game, which I think they will, they'll move on to 49 points and they go above Chelsea and they're sat in 6th. So Brentford at this moment in time are in contention, even though it's slim. Brentford are in contention for Champions League football, and what an achievement that would be! Because as like I said in previous videos, and with the interview with Andy and things like that, I've always felt, and I think even Andy's felt as well, that Brentford was always gonna slip off, losing Thomas Frank, losing Mbeumo, losing Vissa, but it's complete opposite. They're fighting for Champions League football, and with Chelsea's inconsistencies, there's a very good chance they could finish above Chelsea and get that final Champions League spot. which would be absolutely amazing for them. And good luck to them. And I hope they do get Champions League football because that'd be brilliant to see. An underdog in Brentford getting Champions League football. And then we move on to Burnley versus Brighton of Hove Albion. I'm going to go with a Burnley win, which is quite surprising. A lot of people would say that they are relegated. Actually, no, I'm going to. This is a tough one to predict though because Burnley pretty much relegated. Brighton haven't been the best of teams this year in the league. Sat in 10th position, 43 points. They're not really going to get European football. I don't see them pushing for it. It potentially could happen for Brighton. Um, Actually, I'm going to change that score. I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw there. I think it's a tough score to predict because Burnley could turn up, they could score goals, and same with Brighton. However, I just think this game probably just as I've changed it, then I think it'll just be a draw. It'll be one of those games where it's quite boring, and then the first goal will basically change the game. In the second half or something, if whoever goes 1-0 up, then the other team will just respond and by getting another getting the equaliser, and then kind of just sharing the points overall. Then we look to the half five kickoff on Saturday, Liverpool versus Fulham. This game now, obviously, Fulham, who are in that position, are also chasing Europe, with them only being 2 points off Everton and Brentford. A win here for Fulham, as well, I think they beat them, didn't they, at Craven Cottage? Fulham beat Liverpool, didn't they? I think. With this game, Liverpool losing 2-0 to PSG. If you haven't checked my Champions League reaction, check the link in the description and definitely give that a watch there. And you can see my reaction to all the fixtures, what happened, and results of the first leg quarterfinals of the Champions League. Definitely check that out. Drop a like on that video as well, please. But with this game, I think Liverpool needs to get back to winning ways. It's a game winning, and a lot of Liverpool fans said, "Look, we probably should," but a part of me just thinks Fulham will turn up and they will perform well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we did see a Fulham win. However, I think it's going to be I think it'd be a I'm gonna go with a 2-1 win to Liverpool. I think Liverpool will get the result and bounce back from that Champions League defeat and obviously FA Cup humbling away at Man City. Then we go on to Sunday's Premier League action. We've got Crystal Palace versus Newcastle. Crystal Palace winning 3-0 yesterday in the Conference League against Fiorentina. Very well done to them. Probably the best performance I've ever seen from Crystal Palace this season. Newcastle, um, starting 12th, losing to Sunderland last time they played over 3 weeks ago. Crystal Palace obviously 14th, not the greatest of seasons for them, but if they can win the Conference League, brilliant for them. What I think will happen with this game, I think it's one of those games where it can go either way. I'm probably going to favour the home side, and I think I'm going to go with a um, probably a 2-1 again, to be fair. I think that's the fair result. Nottingham Forest versus Villa, a Midlands derby. Forest, fighting for that, to stay away from the relegation zone. And, with them being, how many points clear are they now? They are obviously 2 points clear of Tottenham in 17th. I think, this is one of those things where Nottingham Forest definitely can get something out of this game. And if they turn up, I think they drew yesterday away at Porto, 1-1. So if Forest do turn up, they definitely can get something out of it. But Villa, on the other hand, obviously looking to get back into third place, and only being a point behind United, who play on the Monday night. So with that game, I'm probably gonna go. I have a feeling it'll be a draw, but then I also have a feeling that I'm gonna go with a 1-1 draw. I think both sides are fighting, and I think the draw would probably be a fair result. And what I can see something happening. Sunderland versus Tottenham. Tottenham traveling away to um, Tottenham traveling away to um, Sunderland. The Stadium of Lights. Sunderland at home have been absolutely fantastic. I think it will be a easy win for Sunderland, and Tottenham slipping into that relegation battle, despite it being Roberto De Zerbi's first game. I just don't see them slipping up Sunderland slipping up at home against Tottenham. I just can't see that. Then we go on to the Super Sunday game, Chelsea versus City. This is game well, obviously City. I think City will win. I'm going to go 3-1, actually not 2-1. I think with City, they're in this title race now, and I just don't see Chelsea performing. No Enzo Fernandez as he's on his ban from Liam Rossini. But then I just don't see um, how Chelsea get something out of this game. I just think they're a very poor side. They've got great players, but just the way that they are drilled, I just don't think they're a well drilled side, and that's why I'm going with a 3-1 win to Man City. And then we look at Man United versus Leeds, the Battle of the Roses, Monday Night Football. What will happen here? I'm going to go with a 3-1 victory to Manchester United. Um, I think, that's probably the fair kind of result, not fair result. I just think United, coming back, being away in Ireland under intense training camp as it's been highlighted by the press and things like that. So I think United will win this game. I think Leeds, they are struggling, they probably will stay up, but I just see United being back at home now. They want to turn up, putting that draw at Bournemouth in the in the past now, and basically just going on and winning this game. And then in terms of obviously for United, in terms of the league, what does it mean if we get 3 points? So United obviously will react in terms of what will happen for them. So they could well, if Villa do win, um, against Forest, then Villa will go above United and be in fourth. So United have to react and win and get back to third position. But United, a win keeps them in third. A loss um, could potentially put them in fourth. And if Villa were to draw against Forest, then a loss wouldn't be too bad. However, you want to win the game, don't you? Realistically, and I think United have a very good chance of winning this game. It should be good for United. I think we should get something out of this game. Get on to 58 points, and I think you're looking good. And I think your 94% chance of Champions League football or something, whatever Sky Sports put out, I think that becomes 100%. I just don't see United not getting Champions League football right now. In terms of the team news, so I'm going with this. So I need to get Maguire off the list. Actually, I've put Maguire in. I think what will happen is that he will go with something like this. What number's Lenny Yoro? Lenny Yoro's number. What number's Lenny Yoro? Oh my days. Um, oh dear. Lenny Yoro's number 15. Well, that was great. I'll just mess this up. Lenny Yoro's number 15. And I think I'll be honest. With this team news, obviously no Maguire since he's suspended. I think we'll go with something like this. Yeah, can you guys see that now? I think we'll go with something like this. So I think we'll go. Michael Carrick will go. Lennon's in net. Shaw, Heaven, Yoro, and Delo as the back four. Obviously, Maguire getting suspended with that red card against Bournemouth, and I think it only just makes sense if you put Heaven in. He's not injured, not coming back from an injury. I think you've got to stick him in. He's had a few minutes under his belt as well this season, so I think it makes perfect sense instead of just chucking in Lisandro Martinez, obviously, as we know, has been training and things like that. However, I don't want to rush Martinez back with him being so injury prone. I think you've got to play Heaven. It's a young centre back pairing, but I think they're very, very good. Yarrow's a class defender. He has made a few mistakes, right? But I think on his day, he's very, very good. And we do see that from Lenny Yarrow. Heaven, again, young, only 19 years old, sorry. But like I said, he's made a couple of mistakes, same as Jaro, but he's very, very good on his day. Shaw, I think it only makes sense that he's at left back. Below, I think he's looked solid since Michael Carrick came in, and you got to continue that. Mainu Casemiro in the midfield, that's his midfield. We know that that's his midfield. Cunha, Bruno, Ahmad as the free attacking kind of midfielders. Well, you've got your two wingers in Cunha and Ahmad. I think Cunha would be very, very good on the ball. You saw it at Ellen Road where he was carrying the ball, punishing the midfield of Leeds, and I think that's their weakness. If you can dribble that ball and take carry the ball through their midfield and defence, then I think you're through on goal. As we saw with Xerxes' not Xerxes' goal, with Cunha's goal at Ellen Road, where Xerxes basically just ran the ball, played a simple through ball into Cunha, and he scores. So I think that's how United have got to punish Leeds. So Cunha, Bruno, as we know, it's Bruno. Ahmad, I think Ahmad's perfect on that right wing. Just explosion of pace, and I think that will help exploit the flanks area and the fullbacks of Leeds, and also carrying that ball because Ahmad does like to take people one on one. And I'd love to see Ahmad in particular this weekend to just go at the defenders of Leeds United and just take them on one and put the ball into Embuemo in the box. I think we have to go in Embuemo in the box. A lot of people would be like, Rowan, why are you not playing? Why are you not playing Shesko? A lot of people would be saying, "Why not playing Shesko?" However, I think you've got to bring Shesko on as an impact player. Let's say it's 1-0 to United and we're under the cosh a little bit. You bring on Shesko and he scores you a goal, and then you go 2-0 up and the pressure's off. I think that's what we've got to do with Shesko. I've said it quite a lot recently this year. His impact off the bench is second to none, almost Ole Gunnar Solskjaer like, when he's scoring those goals. And I think that would be perfect for United. And, as I said, I think it's going to be a 3-1 win to United. I think Bruno Fernandes will score. I think Embuemo will score. And I also think Shesko will score as well. I think Bruno will be very, very key as always, creating those chances, those opportunities to, someone like Casemiro, or obviously no Maguire, but Casemiro aerially as well. I think he could be proved to be a good threat for United and a route to goal, which would be good to see. But United, we still got to wait a couple more days now because it's not until Monday until they play. But it should be a good weekend's action of football, and you know, hopefully we do see a lot of goals. I want to see a lot of goals. I've been missing football quite frequently because international football isn't Premier League. But thank you all for watching. Please drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you all in a bit.